Right. I think we're ready. Good afternoon or good morning, everyone. My name is Scott Anton. I manage business development with Gideon Taylor, and I am excited to be introducing this month's Lunch and Learn, featuring a combined team of Gideon Taylor and Western University up in Ontario, Canada. For those of you who might not be familiar with our Lunch and Learns, we do these for the most part on a monthly basis. We took December off because of the holidays, but we're resuming now for January, February, and March. For everybody who is attending, you will automatically get an email with a link to the webinar probably sometime next week. So you can look forward to that. Feel free to share that with others if you'd like within your organization or outside your organization. A little bit of housekeeping. Uh, Feel free to enter questions in the chat as we go along. We're more than happy to respond to those in real time in some cases. We may also choose to reserve some of those until the end. We will have some time at the end for Q&A. I think that's it. And Alicia, are you continuing to admit folks as they come in?
Sure.
We keep
Yep,
getting
I
little
can do that.
notifications.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you. So without further ado, today's webinar is on leveraging PeopleSoft Insights with GT eForms. For years, organizations using GT eForms have been using a variety of ways to report on and analyze transaction data on eForms. And now with PeopleSoft Insights, that's even easier. And it's fantastic to be able to allow for data visualizations associated with that, with all of that rich data that is involved in eForm transactions across the enterprise, whether those are HR related, finance related, or student related. Our one thing that I'll mention before I get into introductions of our presenters, we've got two more lunch and learns on the calendar. University of Utah is scheduled for next month, talking about the additional pay form and FMLA requests that they've automated with GT eForms, what went into planning for those, the design of those, and what they look like today. And then in March, we're going to be doing a really awesome demonstration of a new continuing ed eForms solution that is all PeopleSoft based. So for those of you who are in higher education and might be looking for a powerful, intuitive continuing ed enrollment option for your public-facing websites that allows for organizations for continuing ed applicants to peruse your course catalog, do comparisons, do filters on certain classes they might be interested in or topics, and then actually click on those, enter them into a shopping cart, proceed to checkout, and then also handle payment transactions. So some very cool functionality that we're going to be introducing this year for higher education clients. All right. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our participants. I'm going to stop sharing here. And I'm going to introduce our cast of characters today. Shawn Brett, who is a senior business analyst with the Gideon Taylor team. Jessica Claeys, systems specialist on Western University's finance team. And Ab Birch, director of finance systems at Western University. And then also supporting us in the background is Alicia Mulcarney, our training manager and business analyst manager on the Gideon Taylor team. So all that aside, Shawn, I think I'm handing this over to you.
All right, thanks, Scott. Welcome, everyone. Excited to go through this today. So I'll start with a brief overview. Scott mentioned a little earlier how there are various reporting methods that you may have used in the past to get information out of your eForms. So I'll give a brief history of that. So in the past, in the old days, typically, you would run your queries, you would export that to Excel, you would do your data manipulation and create your charts and graphs in Excel, or maybe send those to a third-party product to render your visualizations a little bit easier. So everyone is super familiar with this process. Then, but a little bit more recently, there was a bolt-on available called GT Analytics Bolt-on that provided some sort of pre-built graphical representations of eForms data. It allowed you to see things that were in error, get an idea of the time period that form transactions would take from queues, various different information that you could see. It was all query-based and primarily built off of pivot grids. So now moving into future, we're looking at PS Insights for GT eForm. So if you've been to any conference recently around PeopleSoft, there's usually a good number of sessions around insights for really good reasons. And I'll talk a little bit about why you might want to look into getting your data and insights, whether it's eForms or any other data that's in your system, whether you're using the delivered insights that Oracle provides, or you want to take the adventure of trying to build your own. As you may know, insights are available for all pillars: finance, HR, and campus solutions. Oracle has delivered insights for finance and HCM. It's in the roadmap to make some available for campus solutions. There, as far as I know, at least there aren't any available at this time, but that shouldn't stop you from building your own. So the main benefits of insights, first and foremost, is performance. So if you have queries that you're running in your system, those are executing against your transactional database. The more complex your queries or the more data they're pulling back, the more of an impact they're going to have on performance for your transactions. By offloading the reporting capability to your insights server and instance, anytime you're doing filters on the dashboards, manipulating the data within the dashboards, all of that is offloaded to an external server. It doesn't impact your day-to-day performance for people that are actually trying to use the system to do their jobs. Data scheduling. So insights are primarily based off of a query backend. So the same way you would schedule your queries is the same way that you could schedule how frequently your insights dashboards get updated. So you can for sure do it, depending on your data needs, either, an hourly basis, maybe overnight is frequent enough. You also have the ability with insights to use what's called real-time indexing. So as data in your system is changing, it can execute some triggers that then keep your dashboard up to date in near real time. Usability. So yeah, spreadsheets are great. We're all a fan. Charts and graphs and spreadsheets are great. Running queries and trying to look at the data that way, everyone's pretty used to that, but it's really nice with insights to, you have the option to deploy these pretty much anywhere you want to in your system. You can have a separate homepage to put your charts and graphs on. You can embed them within existing homepages, within existing tiles, and also within components themselves. So it's super usable. And the ability to drag and drop stuff on the dashboard to make it fit your needs, each individual user, the way that they want to look at things, is a far superior experience. Familiar tools, again, if you know how to use Query Manager or you have a buddy that is an expert in Query Manager, then you're already 90% of the way to be able to build out your insights dashboard. By far, the most time-consuming part of getting dashboards built is making sure that your data source is accurate and built out correctly. And all that's based on either a direct query or connected query. All right, for configuration, you don't have to be a developer to build out these dashboards. Primarily, they're functional tools that once you get into insights and you start laying out your charts and graphs and timelines and all those different things, I haven't had a need yet on that end to need developer assistance for those. You can certainly go into some advanced options to where you can write scripts and code on the insight sides using Vega and Vega Lite to really build some unique and really kind of intense visualizations for your data. Anything that you want to be able to cover or digest in a specific way can be done through scripting and code if needed. For security, like most things PeopleSoft, first and foremost, these all live on tiles and home pages, so you can secure through role level access to the dashboards themselves. You also have the ability to implement row level security so that as users are accessing the dashboard, it's checking against things like access to their departments, their business units, and campus solutions, things like programs and plans that they might have access to dynamically and in real time, so that as the dashboard loads, it shows exactly the data that they should have access to. And then finally, integration with external data. So you can not only consume the data that's within your PeopleSoft instance, but you can pull external data sources in to insights within PeopleSoft to build out your dashboards and graphical representations of things from systems like Salesforce, learning management systems, any third-party systems that it would be helpful to pull in data and see at the same time as the information that's in your PeopleSoft system. And so a little bit about this project and the partnership with Western. This was a bit of a brand new endeavor for us to create a custom dashboard. We're all familiar with the delivered stuff that Oracle has, but really just going through the process of learning the ins and outs of how these get built, how the search framework works, doing some reverse engineering on the delivered dashboards that Oracle provides, and getting the understanding pretty quickly that there are some intricacies into how these dashboards and the data sources for them need to be developed. So the first question was, can we even build one of these things using eForms data? Fortunately, that was a task that we were able to complete. So getting it built is one thing. I think everyone knows that just because you have something built, maybe it's not always an easy process to get it somewhere else. So we initially built our test version of our administrator eForms dashboard in a finance environment and was able to migrate it to an HR, one of our internal HR environments without much issue. Again, that's all good and fine, but we really needed a partner to make sure that we could move from our internal environments to a client environment and see if it still worked as smoothly as we thought that it would. Fortunately, with Western's partnership and cooperation, we were able to get our administrator eForms dashboard configured in their system. And so the next step was to get some feedback from them. Is it even going to be useful? Is the admin dashboard going to be useful? Is it consuming the data appropriately? What sort of improvements could we look at and make adjustments, fine tune, and prepare the dashboard for general release? So going through that process, what we actually ended up with, first, yes, we were able to do a successful migration of our delivered admin dashboard into Western's environment. One thing that we found out, and that Western found out, and I'll give them the opportunity to talk to this a little bit more later, the admin dashboard is great, and it could be useful in certain situations for their particular use cases. What they really needed is they had like a monitor eForms work center that consisted of some queries that would let users view specific information about specific form types. Our admin dashboard was designed to give an overview of what the forms are looking like in your system. Which ones are in error? How many form submissions did you get for a particular form type? What does the load look like throughout the year? How many forms are submitted, per month, and when are the high use times for that? In Western's case, they wanted to be able to have a dashboard that was form specific. In this case, we picked their expense eForm that would give them more detailed information about a specific form type, primarily to see any bottlenecks in workflow. So whose queue are these forms sitting in? It can also, show which forms are in error. They wanted to be able to have a link that goes directly to the view or evaluate task for a specific form so that you can access the form directly from the dashboard without having to go through a tile or an email link or somewhere else that you might normally get to those links through your system. The other interesting aspect for Western's request for this custom dashboard was the row level security piece. And I'll let them again speak to their security setup a little bit more later, but all of the Oracle delivered dashboards use a specific logic based on how, I guess, the majority of institutions and organizations have their security configured. In Western's case, they have a very specific way that they determine security. So we couldn't make a quick copy of the delivered application classes to implement row level. So we got the opportunity to dive into that a little bit and make that work for them. All right. So what we'll start with before we get onto their custom eForms dashboard is what our solution template eForms admin dashboard looks like. So this is actually installed in their system. And I'll go ahead and play this. So let me pause it right there, actually. As part of building out your dashboards, whether it's this one or any inside dashboard that you build, part of that process is building out the search framework pieces for that. So what is available to you if you choose to install this in your system is that you can make it a search category in your global search. What that means is that you can configure it in such a way that you can access the form admin tool directly from global search for a specific form that's been submitted or that's in the system. So you don't have to navigate to the admin tool, look up a form or form ID. You can do a search directly in global search to access that. And so that particular link from global search will take you directly into the admin tool. Again, you can deploy these anywhere you want to. In this case, we've decided to create a GT eForms Insight homepage and deploy a tile for both of the forms, both of the form types that we're doing here in one spot. So we have a tile that's going to show the overall pending forms on our main administrator homepage. And then we have another tile that's going to be specific to the expense forms that are pending. Inside dashboards, the way they work is usually you have a tile that will display some general information. You don't want to try and cram all this stuff onto a single tile. Then clicking on that tile actually takes you to the full dashboard. From here, you have filtering options. These work the same way across any Insights dashboards that you attempt to install. Pause this for a second. So you can determine how far back in the past and how far forward in the future, if you have anything that's future dated, that you want to pull into your dashboard. As you make changes to anything that's on this dashboard, it's going to dynamically update all the other visualizations that are contained here. So we have a filter on this one at the moment. We're going to look at all the forms that are in error. We can see our attempt to call out any in error forms, nice, big, bright in red. And then by applying that in error filter, all the other visualizations apply. So it looks like we had some errors around the form transporter. We can see some submissions over time. And as filters are applied, those get applied throughout the dashboard itself. A couple of other call outs here. Count of all the eForms that are in the system. We have some aging and cycling metrics that we've included so that you can get an idea of how long from the population of your forms that are in the system, how long have they been sitting there since someone last took an action on them? And how long have they been sitting there since they were first submitted? We have a form type distribution to give an idea of the number of forms submitted for each form type that you have configured in your environment. And then an average cycle time from when a person first submitted a form to where it's gone all the way through the workflow approval process and has been executed. This is in days. So you can see that there are some form types that take 15 days to complete, some that are done in a much shorter time frame. We have a submissions per day metric. You can kind of see when the winter breaks are is where it falls off. So this could, potentially help you determine when to be prepared for high loads for forms for the people that are processing your forms. Maybe in Campus, you would expect like a change of major form to be pretty prevalent in August. So you go to this graph and you see that you have a bunch in August. What happens if you come here and you see that you have a bunch later in the year? Maybe there's some communications that need to be tweaked to make sure that forms are getting filled out at the appropriate times and optimum times. Again, you can see that as you click on wherever you click, anywhere in these dashboards will filter out everything else that's included there. I should mention, let me see if it will let me back up a bit. For example, this age since last action metric, it's grouped by weeks, basically. So from 0 to 7 days, 7 to 14, 14 to 21, however you would want those configured. It's set within the dashboard itself, not within your query or anything like that. So if you ever need to modify or customize how these date ranges work or any other thing that you have here, It would really be a matter of just making a copy of what you get from us and then tweaking it to your needs. Just kind of showing the timeline metric. There are some other things here like the eForm distribution by the forms and the status, average response time, and then the actual data grid at the bottom that gives you a direct link. In this case, this is going to the form admin tool. So you can also access it directly from the dashboard or through global search. This dashboard itself is secured through some new roles that are included whenever you download this. Typically, the security for this mirrors what a form administrator would have. So if you have access to the form admin tool, that's the same sort of population that we would expect to have access to this particular dashboard. All right. Some other details around the admin dashboard itself. Sure, everyone's asking, well, that looks cool. When's it going to be available? First, this is a solution template, so any additional support or customization might require some consulting services, especially if you decide to make any customizations to it once you get it into your system. It is available now through request from support at Gideon Taylor. So if this is something that you're interested in getting a copy of, just email our help desk and we can walk you through the process. The migration itself, since these, obviously are not coming in PUM updates or anything like that, there are typically two pieces to getting these dashboards migrated into your environment and then from there to other environments on your side. So everything that is search related, all the search framework pieces, that includes your queries, the search definition, the category, anything related to search is going to be included in an app designer project. All of the dashboard related stuff, so everything that you build in Insights, everything that we've built in Insights, we've been able to move through the data migration workbench. You can also use DMS to move these pieces, but we found that this was a pretty easy process to use data migration workbench to get these things moved around. All right, and with that kind of covers the eForms admin side of things. I'm going to turn it over to Jessica and Ab. I will continue to drive, so you guys, if you need me to proceed, let me know. But we'll start with you about Western.
Okay, thank you, Shawn, and thank you, Scott. So I'm just going to give a really quick overview about Western itself, and then I'm going to turn it over to Jessica to talk about the dashboard that GT built for our expense form. So at Western here, we have the three PeopleSoft pillars: FS, Campus Solutions, and HR. And I've included there the version and the PUM image that we're currently on. So in finance, we are on tools 86011. That was an upgrade that we just recently did about 6 months ago. And if you want to go to the next tile, Shawn. So just a bit about us. We're by Canadian standards, we're probably a largish university, probably medium by American standards. We have 42,000 students in total. This is 2023 data. We have about 2,800 full-time faculty and staff. We do have both undergrad. Oh, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. From the eForms relationship with Gideon Taylor, we're on build 35803. We currently have 31 form types that Jessica has built, all of them, and we have about 18,000 forms that have been submitted in our production environment. We are a 1,300-acre campus, so we have a lot of buildings, a lot of property in London, Ontario, Canada. It's a very beautiful campus. It's quite an old campus. I think we're coming up to our 150th anniversary, or maybe we've passed it. I don't even know for sure. But we have 11 faculties. We have both undergrad and graduate programs. And was there another slide there? Yeah, this is one interesting statistic from Canadian entrance averages. We're one of the highest in Canada with a 91.8% first-year student entrance average. And our relationship with Gideon Taylor goes back to 2020 when we first implemented the Gideon Taylor eForms product. And we've been very happy with the product, and we're really looking forward to how the insights will help us manage the operational side of administrating eForms. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jessica.
Thanks, Ab. So as Shawn mentioned, when GT kind of first installed Insights and we got a little overview, I think we gave them a disappointed look for all their excitement, which I will take back now for sure. We had some experience playing around with Cabana and things like that to get dashboards that are showing information at a very high level, but we didn't really see, for our purposes, a use case for it. There's not many high-level administrators that are just looking for information in general. So then when it came to the eForms, it appeared initially to be similar, where it was, kind of information about eForms overall. And I was just thinking, who would use this? And the answer was kind of me. And I said, what questions is it answering for me? And my initial response was not really anything. Like I look at these stats periodically, but mostly just to update for a presentation or if somebody asks me, but I don't generally, need at the drop of a hat, total forms, cycle times, and things like that, because, we're quite decentralized in our departments. And they sort of manage their own, work, or their own, I would say, forms, I suppose. So, if forms are taking a long time to say, be actioned, we're not really chasing them down and things like that. And just in our experience, it could have just been the forms that we've deployed so far. We haven't had too many experiences with forms in error. So this wasn't initially exciting me in terms of what we could use here at Western. Now, since then, I will say I've popped in a handful of times and just kind of played around with different filters, and it is interesting to me now looking at kind of the data at a high level, because, I don't know what I don't know. So if I wasn't actually like looking for patterns or things like that, but I will say that I am more and more buying into, for Western, the as delivered Insights visualizer. And it also got me thinking, we're working on a form for our FM folks, facilities management, to request different capital projects from around campus, and to manage, kind of have a repository for all the capital projects and be able for them to track where everything is. Right now it's with several project managers and in several spreadsheets and things like that. And they're not quite in finance. So even though I'm creating the form for them and it's living in the financial system, I do plan on, once they're fully trained up, giving them the form admin tool and kind of managing their own. So I was thinking this actually might be a great tool for them to use as well, just to have a high level on what's going on in their specific area for that specific form. So that kind of, when Shawn mentioned that earlier, anyone who had access to the form admin tool, which right now is really only our kind of systems team, I thought another great use. But so initially, as I said, we probably didn't have very excited faces on. We were happy that it worked for them, but we were trying to think, oh, how's this going to be useful for us? So I mentioned that we are very decentralized here, in that, forms could be out there forever, sitting there, sent back for revision or in somebody's queue for approval. And we are not really chasing that down and making sure that forms keep moving, or, kind of looking at cycle times or submission times, because we're not managing sort of the resources in the departments. But as Shawn mentioned, we do want to give them some tools to be able, at a high level, to see where forms are at in their departments, specifically for administrators, just to have, at a glance, the forms that are in their area that they have access to, so that they can see, forms awaiting action. And if they see, 12 pending the approval of John, they're going to, pick up the phone and say, hey, John, it looks, have you logged in lately? Or maybe you missed these 12 emails, but there are a bunch of things that have been waiting for you to action, and, they kind of need your attention. So we had I just created various queries, depending on like business needs, things that departments just reached out for. How do I tell if I have a duplicate, things like that. So, the next query is searching on name. And that's like, again, querying data right from the forms. I just lost my train of thought. So yeah, while we do have tools, it's kind of you have to look for it, and then you have to click, and then you have to find the information. And then of course, if there's a lot, you download into Excel and things like that. So of course, having information right in the user's face and with lovely colors and things that are red, if they need your attention, that's when we kind of asked, could we have this, first of all, some different information in it, and can we have it like secured based on our row level security, so that the different department administrators, or even just individual form users, because they're just going to see their own as well, and maybe at a glance they want to see what's going on and who their forms are waiting on in a nice visual. So, we kind of told them our dream, and they went back and came back with this expense eForms. We gave them a specific form type to look at, where we had a lot of information in our development database. So here, this is saying there's 284 forms awaiting action of the form type expense. So I'm just waiting for this load. And again, we thought, what do users want to see at a glance? So they can see at a glance the status of all the expense reports. 25% are pending with somebody. A bunch are saved. A bunch are recycled. We call it return for revision, because recycled means something slightly different in FSCM, what our users are used to. And then you can see on the right, it breaks down by users. So how many users have those pending forms? Sorry, this is a recording, so I'm not actually pointing into anything, because we are still doing stuff. We're still playing around with some things in Dev. So you can see, there's that giant chunk there in pink. So who is holding up all these eForms? So, as a department admin, they can just pull this up easily and kind of have a high level idea of where things are at. So I think what Shawn's going to talk about after are some additional items that we're adding into here. Like, we are going to add in cycle times here. We are going to add in sort of the distribution of like submissions by days and things like that, because that's at the department level where they do manage the resources and things like that. That could be really good information for them to know, what months, what times of years, what days of the week are they getting like a lot of submissions that they need to address. What else was I going to say on this? Yeah, and then the department admins, what is great about it is sort of the drilling capabilities. It's very simple to just click on one of the squares. I can't think of words off the top of my head. Click on one of the images or whatever. It's drilling down into the information for them. One of the things we found about Cabana is it didn't have great drill down capabilities specifically directly into the transaction. So, it's very easy as a user with no training at all to just click on some of the images. It's drilling down for you. It's very quick. And then it provides you a listing of the actual transactions. And not only that, of course, then a link to open the transaction. So it's all sort of in one place, and they're not having to, go various other places to find out, to really drill into the information. I'm not sure where we're at in time, or if there's anything else, or if Ab had anything else to kind of add in terms of. In hindsight, I suppose we could have shared screens. It might have been easier, but
I can just briefly speak to the role level security that we have at Western that is a little bit different than maybe how PeopleSoft or Oracle has rolled it out. So there is chart field security that's available from PeopleSoft. We don't use that mostly because our role level security predates the chart field security feature that PeopleSoft had. And we drive most of our role level security by either the department or the project that is associated with a person's ledger authority. So we maintain a ledger authority table for every user that has GL access, and we identify the range of departments and the range of projects that they have access to. So we have a number of views that look to that ledger authority table to provide document level, role level security at the document level, so that we can provide things like GL inquiry, salary inquiry, expense authority, approval authority. We can drive a lot of it from this ledger authority table. And so the challenge for us was, if we're going to use Insights and we want to allow end users to use Insights, it would be really great if we could somehow apply our role level security at the Insights level so that they would only see what applies to them. And that was the challenge, I think, with Gideon Taylor, with the eForms Insights template. At the admin level, it shows everything, and it was really difficult for us to translate that to an operational dashboard for end users where they would only see what's applicable to them. And so that's using our ledger authority table to create role level security. That was where Shawn and his team worked to provide that additional functionality to give us what we really need to now roll this out to our end users at an operational level.
Shawn, I don't know if I have the capability, but do you mind if I try sharing my screen for a sec?
Yeah, sure.
Is that, sorry, I'm
Yep.
not as great on Teams here. We're
See
good?
it. Yep.
Okay.
Well,
Good. Okay. So I just quickly logged in as a user and opened the visualizer from their perspective. And as you can see, just 3 expense forms kind of awaiting action. So we can see we've added, Shawn's team has added some additional visualizers here, age since submission. Obviously, the data is quite old, so everything's over 21 days old. But clicking into saved forms, we can see only Vicky has a saved form, and then here we've got our direct links here. So the other point that I just wanted to add is what Shawn said, how you can add the visualizer anywhere. So right now it's just a tile sitting on the page. But if we wanted to do these visualizers by form type or form family, I'm hoping maybe I can see us adding those into the form family tiles that we have. So, we're talking about expenses right now. Click on the expense tile form family where we've got our new forms, update, view forms, and just kind of having this as the landing page. So again, we're putting information directly in front of the users. So it'd be hard for them to miss their forms in air or just having at a high glance where their, form story is at. So I just wanted to highlight how that could work, where you can just add it wherever into a navigation collection or wherever you'd like. And I think that's it for me, unless.
Yeah, for now at least. Yeah, thanks, Jessica and Ab. Yeah, so the main difference between the expense form, that expense dashboard that Western requested, and the GT one is that their custom dashboard is using the query records from the form itself to pull that data that's been submitted, so that you can really drill down. If you need that ability to drill down into the data, if you have a change of major form, how many forms were going to biology or computer science? If you're using a finance form, what was the amount that was requested for whatever the form has to deal with? And then for sure the big one was the row level security. That's been my favorite part of the project, trying to get that to work so far. I didn't always have all this gray hair before this project started, but now that we just got it working, everything is nice and caught up. So yeah, happy to say that is working, it appears, and hopefully Western will be able to use that as a resource to apply that same sort of logic to not only their other forms dashboards that they may build in the future, but to any delivered insights that Oracle sends, swapping out what Oracle gives with this new logic that they can apply. I did want to mention before we get into the Q&A portion that we do have training available for Insights, which is a hands-on training, upcoming sessions in March and June, or you can request a dedicated session that will walk you through the process of building out all of the search framework stuff that you need to know to build your own dashboards. And then at the end of the course, you'll actually have a working dashboard. So you go through the full process from building a query, configuring all the search framework stuff, going into Insights and building out a dashboard, pulling that dashboard back into PeopleSoft and putting it wherever you want to. So that you kind of get an idea of how all that works together. Aside from that, I think we have plenty of time for questions if there are any.
We do not have any in the chat currently. You're welcome to pop those questions into the chat or the Q&A, or you can also come off of mute and ask those questions.
And I'll comment just in case it wasn't clearly stated, the solution template for PeopleSoft Insights for GT eForms is available as part of any subscription license. So for those of you who are GT eForms users, you can go ahead and reach out to support@gideontaylor.com and request the solution template. As Shawn mentioned earlier, if you need or want any help in getting it set up, by all means, let us know. We're more than happy to help you. But it is designed to be installable for our clients, along with documentation. So, and Jessica and Ab, thank you very much for the content that you guys shared today. It looks like a fantastic solution. We're excited to see what more Western does with it. Oh, it looks like there's some questions coming in.
Yeah, just go down the line. Jessica, can you speak to the complexity of the workflow for the expense form?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that question was related to Insights. We have any number of different workflows, complex, like different stages and paths. We use the AW workflow. So if you had any questions more specific, let me know. But there is no workflow associated with, the actual visualizer.
Joanna had a comment. Thank you for showing both the delivered and a more uniquely adapted version. Helps give ideas for what would be possible with our own eForms and keeping this data inside PeopleSoft. Awesome. Glad you liked it, Joanna. Katie had a follow-up. Katie, who asked about the how complex is the workflow, had a follow-up question. We do workflow analysis as well for our HR eForms. However, one of the biggest pain points on the analytics team is how complex the workflow is for the forms. Do you experience similar challenges with your workflow analysis? So maybe that's a question for you, Jessica.
Yeah, sorry, Katie, can you just clarify what you mean by analysis? Like, are people not understanding how the form works and then things are getting stuck?
While we wait for Katie to respond, Jonathan says, are sample analytics included in the download materials? Shawn or Alicia?
Yeah, so Jonathan, as soon as this gets installed in your environment, it's going to reference any forms that are in your system. So there's not any sample analytics that are included, but if you have any forms that are saved, submitted, in progress, pending, it will pull those in to see immediately.
Karen asks, is the training specific to using Insights with eForm data or any PeopleSoft data?
So yeah, so the training is a little bit more generic. It's not looking specifically at eForm data. It really just walks through the process of how you create a query to work with insights in the search framework using some generic tables in PeopleSoft.
Fantastic. Thanks, Shawn. In addition to your solution, we also need to have PeopleSoft Insights installed in our system, or is GT's solution a standalone product?
So Darcy, it sounds like you're needing just OpenSearch installed and configured for your environment. So the solution's not standalone. It uses what Oracle gives you as far as OpenSearch and Insights. So once you have that configured and up and running on your system, it's just a matter of installing this, and it uses the same framework. But if anyone does have issues getting Insights or OpenSearch up and running, our system admins are well experienced in how to make that happen for you.
Thank you, Shawn. Alicia, I think this is a question for you. This was posted in the Q&A. When will the training signups be available online? Are those available already on the
They
on the
are,
resource library?
Yes, they are. Sorry,
Did
you're
you-
referring to signing up for the Insight training? I'm looking for that
I
question.
assume so.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that one is available to register now. I posted the link. It should be at the top of the chat. That is the link to register for our advanced training, and you'll find it on that registration form.
Perfect. I will also copy this into the Q&A response. And I saw that Katie added some additional context. I'm referring to the workflow determining who gets to approve at the various stages of the workflow. This would be Western's custom workflow based on your business processes. At McMaster, our workflows are very complex, just trying to get a better idea of whether your workflow is also quite complex and if this was a challenge for you in producing the dashboards. I'm coming from an analytics team perspective who builds these types of dashboards.
I'm assuming she's referring to like data about the workflow, like how long it's sitting, how long it's been sitting, that type of analytics. Katie, you can correct me if I'm, yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so perfect.
So I wasn't involved in building these whatsoever. And we haven't put them into use yet. We do have some quite complex workflows. But I'm wondering if you're talking about as well, it's looking at pending forms, but it's not necessarily looking, they're pending this step or this role or this area to analyze kind of further where in the workflow things are getting stuck. So haven't gotten that deep into it, but it hasn't affected, what we've done with dashboards so far.
Good. Any other questions?
I was just going to add the question that asked about the sample analytics with the base product, the solution template that we mentioned, kind of that administrative view. There are specific analytics that are already built out that when you install, those analytics would be available to you. It's just taking your eForms data. And Shawn, I think we have a list specifically of what we're including in there. I don't know if you have that in your presentation, but creating it, we tried to replicate what we had done with our GT analytics in the past. So we just recreated those same analytics in PeopleSoft Insights. So Shawn, if you have that list handy, you can mention some of those. But
yeah, I don't have it handy, but we do have the documentation available whenever you request this that lays out the visualizations that will be included. So everything that you saw today is part of what you would be able to download. Anything else that you would want to build out above and beyond that would kind of be up to you to customize it to fit your needs.
All right. Certainly, if anybody has any other questions, by all means, feel free to pose those. But I did want to just remind folks of the 2 upcoming Lunch and Learns over the course of the next couple of months. We've got the one that's featuring University of Utah's additional pay and FMLA requests emails, and then also the new continuing ed solution for GT eForms and PeopleSoft Campus Solutions. And we'll be sending out email invitations to these, so you should see notifications come out, and you can go ahead and register for those if you like. I do want to take a moment again to thank Jessica Claeys, Ab Birch, Shawn Brett, and Alicia Mulcarney for today's session. I thought it was fantastic. It's always exciting to see what more clients are doing with GT eForms, and particularly with delivered PeopleSoft functionality, in this case, PeopleSoft Insights, to drive greater value from your investment in PeopleSoft enterprise applications. Any other closing comments from our crew? And no other questions in the queue. All right. In that case, we'll gavel this one closed. Keep an eye open for notices on future GT Lunch and Learns, as well as additional product information for upcoming tools and tricks. We thank you all for joining us this afternoon and hope you have a great Thursday. Thank you very much.